welcome to the Paramedic Science interview and preparation tips video that we've done for you. Congratulations on getting to the interview stage. And this sort of video is going to try and give you some information about the interview process, some hints and tips about how to prepare for the interview. My name is Paul Lewis. I'm a senior lecturer practitioner in the Faculty of Paramedic Science, and I've got one of my students here, one of my third year students, and I'm going to get her to introduce herself now.
Hi guys, my name's Lily. I'm a third year student paramedic at the Chelmsford campus, and yeah.
Excellent, thanks Lily. So why do we bother doing an interview? Well, there's a couple of reasons why we do an interview. First off, we have to do one for the Health and Care Professions Council. That's our regulatory body, and they set the requirements for what we need to do on our programs. We also want to get to know you. You're going to be with us for 3 years, so it's really important that we understand what makes you tick and how that'll fit in our program. We also want to know that you've got the right values, motivation and personal qualities to attend this kind of a program that leads ultimately to a professional registration to work as a healthcare professional. It's also a chance for you to find out a bit about us, so make sure you're thinking about that when you're on your interview day. So what are we looking for? Well, there's some key points that I've already kind of mentioned about values and motivation, but the NHS itself has got its own kind of, standards for that, and they're called the 6 C's. They're also linked to something called the NHS Constitution, but the 6 C's in particular, all about care, compassion, competence, communication, courage, and commitment. So think about those things. Have a look it up, go away and think about it before you come to interview. So what do you need to do before you turn up for interview? Well, the first thing and the most important thing is find out what you're interviewing for. What's a paramedic? What do paramedics do? What are they all about? Where do they work maybe? So maybe some things to look and find out about that would be our professional body. I've already mentioned it, the Health and Care Professions Council, Royal Colleges, placement providers, so our trusts that we work with, East of England Ambulance Service and London Ambulance Service, and any hospitals within our area. Have a look at those, see what they do, how do they fit into our programme. I've already mentioned the NHS Constitution, but certainly go away and have a look at that. And then maybe find out what's going on at the minute. I think you know, that's why we're online. But have a look at that and how has that impacted our programme and what does that mean for the future of the NHS as well. Last thing, have a look at our ARU course pages. Find out about the staff, find about what we do, what the programme's all about, and what we cover within the programme itself. I've already mentioned the deep joy that is COVID-19, but that means all our interviews are going to be online. So we'll use some kind of platform, either Teams or Zoom or some other platform, but we will let you know. Either way, it will be free for you to access and free for you to sign up to. Okay. You'll be allocated a 30-minute individual interview time slot, and that will be sent to you as a separate email by a member of staff. And you need to make sure, it's really important, you have your ID ready so that we can confirm that the person sat in front of us is the person we're meant to be interviewing. I don't want to interview your parents, folks, so make sure it's you on the end of the webcam. So, checklist then. What do you need? Well, you need a camera and a microphone attached to whatever device you're using. Ideally, that device should be a laptop if possible. We understand that not everybody has a laptop, but if you don't, try and get a desktop with a separate webcam, or as a last resort, try your mobile phone. It's not the ideal solution, but if that's all you've got, that'll work. Make sure you've got a good internet connection that's reasonably stable. Okay, if you haven't got a good connection or you have a problem on the day, contact us before your interview time and we can rebook you through admissions. So that admissions email you get, contact them via that email address and they'll then be able to rebook your interview for a later point. And then make sure you've got a nice quiet room where you're not going to have, other people in the house coming in, the dog jumping on your lap, anything like that that might cause you a problem or put you off your interview, more importantly. And then lastly, make sure the camera works. Make sure it's actually pointing in the right direction. I don't want to see your curtains or your window. I want to see you. So make sure it's pointed in the right direction and make sure whatever's behind you on the camera is suitable and you'd be happy for somebody to see that. We do record these interviews. Quite simply, that's for quality assurance purposes. That's so that the university can check that myself or any other member of staff are actually doing what we're supposed to be doing on these interviews, and periodically those will get checked to ensure quality assurance. Okay, so just make sure your background is suitable. That's really important. So before the interview, what we'll do is we'll send you a research question. That research question you need to do ideally before the interview itself. Complete it, send it back to us, and then that will get marked as part of this whole process. So this actually falls into part of that process. What we're looking at is how you look up research, how you find evidence, and your writing style. So how you produce your piece of written work. Think about how an essay should be structured. If you're not sure, there's plenty of websites out there and plenty of YouTube videos that tell you how to write a good essay and what makes a good essay. So have a look at that. And then in the interview itself, we'll ask you about your experience of writing that essay as part of the interview. So we'll ask you, how did you get on? How was it? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Where did you find your evidence? Things like that. So think about those things as you go through. It's not just a case of writing an essay, firing it in, and then we ignore it. We actually want to find out from you how you find that experience. So on the day itself, you've done all your bits, you've handed in your essay, you're now on the interview day itself. You'll get 2 invites. One is to a group interview, and that's usually at the start of the day between 9 and 10 o'clock. So if you are working that day, make sure you have the whole day off so you can actually attend both elements. So the initial bit will be the group interview, and then the secondary bit is the individual interview. And the individual interview is the one where you get the 30-minute slot, and that's one-to-one with an academic member of staff like myself. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Lily what her experiences of the interview were, given that she obviously did it in a time pre-COVID and actually got to do it face-to-face, but the experience of the interview is going to be very similar. So Lily, tell us a bit about what happened on the day. Tell us a bit about your interview process itself.
Yeah, so obviously I done my interview pre-COVID, so was able to go into the university, but I can assure you that the nerves I was feeling before my interview, you'll probably be feeling the same. It is very scary. It's an interview for something that a lot of you will have worked really hard towards. Who it's a massive thing, and it's a massive stepping stone in your life. So that those nerves are good. Channel them and use them in a way that it makes your interview more positive. Don't allow them to get the better of you. I tried so hard on the day to keep under control and try not to let them bubble over, which is really, really important, especially in the role that we do. Obviously, being a paramedic, you might go to things that make you nervous all the time, so allowing yourself to control those nerves is really, really important. In the group interview, engage with everything. Don't become overpowering and take control, but make sure you're engaging. You don't want to be that person that is really, really loud and not letting anyone talk, but you also don't want to be the person who doesn't say a word. So find that happy middle ground. Take some control, but don't take it all. Allow other people to include their opinions and engage with everything that is thrown at you during the day. So engage with the group interviews, engage with the questions with your lecturers who will be interviewing, and engage with them in a way that you can ask questions. They really, really appreciate it if you don't understand something and you ask them to clarify it, or at the end of your interview, if you have a few questions for them, feel free to ask them as well. Yeah, just make sure that you are on time. You've got everything set out. I would recommend being 15 minutes early, sitting in front of your computer. Then it allows you to think, okay, I've got my ID, I'm dressed smartly, I know that my connection works, I know that my laptop's working. Make sure it's plugged in so it's not going to die on you, so you don't have to run around finding the charger. Just ensure that you are ready and sitting there 10 minutes before, so then you're not stressed 5 minutes before you're meant to be on your interview. But yeah, it's about controlling the way that you're feeling, make sure that you've prepared. So like Paul said, look at the 6 C's. They are super important when it comes to working in the NHS. They're a massive part of the way that our role works. And you can show that you're competent with the 6 C's through researching them and then giving examples as well. So I gave examples of working at Colchester Zoo, which is where I worked before coming to university. And as long as you are given examples that are relevant to those 6 C's, then it doesn't matter whether it's medical, retail, anything like that. As long as you're showing that you're competent, that's okay. But yeah, control those nerves.
Excellent. That's brilliant. Thanks very much, Lily. That's really helpful. So apart from what Lily said, I think there's another couple of key points. Make sure you look like you want to be there. You know, smile. Make sure your body language shows that you're genuinely interested, and make sure, appreciate I've got a slightly dodgy accent. If you don't understand what we're saying, then you need to make sure you clarify that. Don't just rabbit on when you're answering a different question. And then make sure you look smart. This is an interview, folks. You know, this isn't, you know, turning up to have a chat with your mates on Zoom. This is an actual interview process. So look like you're meant to be there. Look like you're coming for a proper job interview. Okay. And another point, just to keep at the back of your mind is, we only see you for 30 minutes. So you get, you know, we ask you a bunch of questions and then you get an opportunity to ask us questions at the end. Think carefully about those questions, because that might be the difference between you getting a place and you not getting a place, because you stick in somebody's head because you've said something particularly interesting and you've really thought about what you're going to ask at the end. Okay? Don't just ask us, when are we going to find out the results of this, because we get that all the time. Okay? Think about what you're wearing. Like I said, don't wear anything with a horrific logo like a t-shirt or something like that, or your pajamas, which is a spectacular one we have seen before. So think about maybe what you're wearing. Obviously it's important. Don't try and rote learn information. Don't just rattle off the 6 C's as a big long list and then give an example with each or anything like that. We can tell, okay? We've been doing this a while. We know when you're just, you know, rattling something off or reading it from a piece of paper beside your laptop. That people have tried that before. It doesn't work. We can see your eyes moving, okay? Certainly don't try and get anybody else to do the interview. We need to see a photographic ID, so you will have to hold that up to the camera, so it's not worth it. And make sure you're on time, please, okay? What happens afterwards? Well, after you've done your interview itself, UCAS or the university admissions team will notify you within 3 working days. That can take up to a week at the minute just because of processing times and things like that. But either way, you find out fairly quickly. And once you have found out, if you are successful, then make sure you accept the offer fairly quickly. Okay? If you're unsuccessful, don't give up, please. Think about where you could have done things better, where you could have done things differently. Often we come off an interview and we know exactly where we've made a mistake or we've said something that we maybe shouldn't have said. Think about that, but then also ask the university for some written feedback. The lecturers and the academic staff will produce written feedback for the interview, so make sure you get hold of that and use that feedback to improve. You can't apply twice in the same year, so you'd have to apply for the following year, but make sure you then put in your application early for the following year so you're right at the top of the pile whenever we start doing interviews again, and we'd love to see you. There is a possibility we may offer you another course to interview for at that point as well in the same year. So keep an eye out for anything like that, because it might be you're suited to another program of study at ARU that you maybe hadn't considered. So don't forget that. If you are successful, then make sure you accept that offer, like I said, via UCAS Track. Have a think then quickly about your accommodation. Accommodation, obviously we offer it to all new first years, so, and particularly on the healthcare programs, medicine and paramedic science, you get kind of first dibs at accommodation. So make sure you get in there quickly and get your accommodation on campus. Complete your disclosure and borrowing service check. That's the criminal records check we've got to do on all students who are on healthcare programs, and that's to make sure you're safe to go out and deal with members of the public. And we also need your occupational health information to make sure you're physically fit and mentally fit to undertake the placements that we provide. Any changes to your circumstances, so if you move house, if you change your phone number, anything like that, you need to let us know as soon as possible as well, because we could be sending information to the wrong address. Email addresses as well, you know, if you change your internet provider and get a different email address, think about that. And then finally, we will bring you to a virtual applicant day, and that virtual applicant day is kind of a taster of what goes on in the university. So you'll get a lecture. Exciting. And then you'll get to find out whether this is really what you want to do, and hopefully that will cement your notion that you want to be a student at ARU in September. Hopefully that's given you plenty of information. Lily, is there anything else you want to add?
No, just be confident in what you're saying and the way you're saying it. Obviously, like Paul said, don't learn your answers. Have an idea of everything that you would like to include and have confidence in what you're saying. And I'm sure that you will do really, really well. Also, if you don't get in this year, don't completely write off being a paramedic. Take the year out to go over everything that you've done in your interview. Ask for that advice and work on it. Spend the next year working on what you've been told you need to improve on, and when you come back next year you'll be stronger and more confident, but also it shows your resilience, it shows that you're willing to work on what you've been told, and it also shows the lecturers that this is really, really what you want to do. You're not just going to give up at the first hurdle, because it is a difficult career path, and by showing that you are willing to take the time out and work and get to where you want to be shows that this is really what you want to do, and that can be really beneficial. So yeah.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Lily, for that. Hopefully we've given you some tips and some pointers for your interview. You can also send us any questions you might have through the admissions team, and we're quite happy to answer any queries you might have. But good luck with your interview, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.